here. This is Guiding Abundance. I am Arla, and we have Sam doing the technical duties. And tonight we have Tish Paquette. And if I said that wrong, it's because I have an oaky drawl. So we are so glad to have Tish with us tonight. And I think we've got a lot of other people that are kind of happy Tish is with us tonight. Welcome, Tish. And if you would you please tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Hi. And well, I only see the three of us. Do something to see anybody else, or is that just on the side? I'm just asking because I don't see anybody on my screen. I don't know. Am I supposed to hit something like participants, or I have no idea. Well, oh, wait. I have no idea. So I'm just gonna pretend I see everybody, whoever everybody is.
Okay.
And so my name's Tish Paquette, and I am what I like to call an intuitive. Some people use that term psychic or whatever, and it tends to have a different energy about it, and people tend to put you in a box. And so I like the word intuitive, and I've been that since I was little, probably like Arla, 5 years old. Kept it secret in the family because that was a no to express growing up. I am also a Reiki master, an energy worker, a massage therapist, hypnotherapist, and I think there's something else in there, but I can't remember what. So I do a lot of energy work, a lot of chakra work. Consult with some of the massage schools on chakras, and I'm also I do a lot of well, I won't say a lot of, but I do hypno experience, or hypno is what I call it, and it's for people who have had some sort of unusual experience, be it Sasquatch, be it ghosts, be it alien, be it, being abducted, whatever. And so I've worked with some of those people that have had those experiences too, to get clarity on their experience, as well as to remove fear that seems to really grip them. And then I do the regular hypnosis on a myriad of topics. And yeah, that's kind of, I live in Vancouver, and my office is in Gresham, Oregon, and been doing it forever. I'm a retired educator, high school. Yeah, I think that's enough to know. I'm sure they'll ask me.
Right. That's good. That's awesome. Sorry, I had like some weird stuff going on for when you first started, because Facebook decided to play back what I was hearing into one. I was hearing like you on this one live, and then this one was Facebook. It was really weird. So I was like, what? So how did you get connected with like the Sasquatch and like UFO and star people stuff?
Okay. Well, yeah, good question. Well, I was Guy Edwards ran a program here in Oregon once a month. And anyone that was Sasquatch oriented or had experiences, he would provide a platform for speakers to come. So I would attend, and then the next thing I know, someone asked me, "Oh, are you able to communicate?" And I'm like, "I haven't tried it." And so I did a test with them. And so that first time I was to speak, I communed with Sasquatch community, and I asked, I think it was 7 or 8 specific questions of them, and I wrote the answers down, and then I gave them to Guy at the time of my presentation. And because I really didn't know a lot of the research that had been done, I just knew the connection piece. When I was little, I had some encounters. My dad had encounters. My brothers had encounters on a ranch in Northern California in Grass Valley. And, but I didn't know that's what it was at the time. So the more I learned about sounds and habits, then I realized was able to put the pieces together. But I also have Native American, and so consequently feeling other energies and knowing spirit connection to Sasquatch became paramount. Although I think I read one of the comments in your group about, do you have to be Native American to have these unusual encounters? And of course, the answer is no. It's just your spirit being willing and open and being in the frequency to receive the information. And then someone was referred to me who had an abduction situation, and so he came several times, and we were able to determine what transpired there. And then another woman came. So it just kind of mushroomed from there.
Right.
Because then people were coming out of the woodwork, finally unafraid, finally able, like your platform, to have a platform to speak and to not be looked at as, oh, we need to, take him to the psych ward. Because that has happened. Fortunately, over the last decade, things have settled down more, and the door and window has opened, and the frequency has opened now for more people with giftings to be accepted and heard. And now, Arla in particular, you're in my age, no offense, Sam, I'll get to you another 30 or 40 years down the road. But with our age, we've had a fair amount of experience that we can now kind of catalog and say, this is what this is what this means, and we can share it with the ones coming up. And that's why we're here. That was why we chose to come in at this time of man's evolution, to assist those that are coming up behind us, like you, to give confidence and information and openness, and to help shift to the higher frequency and dimension that's happening. Did that answer your question? I hope.
Yeah. That was a very good answer.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was introduced to you through Jeff and Greg.
Mm-hmm.
And they speak very highly of you. And then we spoke a little bit because I was trying to take one of your Reiki classes, but I think that something happened, like I wasn't able to make it that weekend or something like that.
Right.
Are you still able to do that now with all the COVID restrictions?
We've had to make some adjustments, so that curtailed it, and now we're trying to. There are some people who have had their shots that want to come and come back in person and do Reiki. We're now working on one online, but the online one isn't Reiki 1, because I really embrace the idea that you need to do that in person, not online. Right. Whereas Reiki 2 can be online. That's the spiritual connection of Reiki and the symbols, and that can be done online. So we're working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's touch on energy centers, if that's cool with you.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm assuming you talked about chakras.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So here I happen to have, for your viewing enjoyment, a chart of the chakra centers, and I even have it on the back of my card, because that's an energy that we work with all the time. So when people come to us, if you've done the work long enough, you can feel their centers and their blockages and what's happening. Mm-hmm. So they do ask me in the massage schools to come and teach that, so that the massage therapists know what they're feeling or not feeling. The chakras are actually pronounced chakra, but I like the sh sound better. It's not so rude. It's like chakra. Anyway, and we deal with the 7 main ones. From your coccyx, from your tailbone, that runs up to your crown. And these are the 7 ones that are of the third dimension. So when I say third dimension, that is where we live. It's all about matter. It's all about now. There are others, and I'll mention that a little later, because I have another chart right here that my colleague and I created to explain the two different sets of chakras.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely would love to touch on that because that's something I don't think a lot of people know much about, including myself.
Yeah. Well, I think Sue took our class on that one. It was the fourth and fifth dimensional chakras.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, with that said, I go with the 7 main ones that run up our spine. If you were Tibetan, they would say that there's 5 because they combine 2, where the Dantian and all of that is, where that comes from. If you're Jewish, they say there's 9 because they count each year. But I go with the 7, and the 7 all have a color of the rainbow, a note on the keyboard. They all have a frequency, and they're all supposed to spin, and they spin in opposite directions. So what's interesting about energy is that our infinity symbol, if you do it vertical, that's our flow of our chakras, but also our DNA.
Right.
And I truly believe that the infinity symbol, it being a wave, is the wave for the third dimension. That is the energy that propels here and now. So anyway, the bottom chakra, the red one, is, and most people kind of know it, but what they maybe aren't familiar with is that energy gets trapped in all of these. It's supposed to flow through, but in each section, it represents something in our bodies, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and each chakra is attached to one of our 7 layers of our auric field. That's a whole different discussion. But the first one, we could go on forever. The first one, the red one, that's where home, safety, security, and finances reside energetically in our bodies. So when you look at it, when I scan people and I see their chakras, I'm scanning them to see physically, emotionally, spiritually what's going on. So if there's a blockage there, if it's supposed to spin, have good color. If it's slow, then I know that something's going on in their home around safety, security, and finances. Well, come on, people, that's our very first chakra. It's our very first dimensional experience. Yeah, we're going to be affected by it. You know, is it running okay? Isn't it? And what's interesting about that is if it goes slow for any length of time, and I know you haven't had an injury, it will manifest an illness. And that illness will look like low back pain, sciatica, anything to deal with your skeletons, your ligaments, your tissues. So when I get people, especially as a massage therapist, and I get people in with this chronic issue all the time, and I've done what I can do from a physical standpoint, then I ask them, what's going on at home? And then it all comes out because it's all connected. The next one that comes up where the male organs are and the female organs are is our sacral chakra, and it is orange. And this actually comes from the word sacred, and it is it's interesting because in that energy, it isn't just the fact that you're male and I'm female. It's more than that. It's, do we honor, love, nurture, cherish, respect, and accept who we chose to be this time around? And we know, just looking at humanity as a whole, humanity struggles with identity, struggles with self-esteem, struggles with those types of issues because they're looking outside themselves for the answer. And so there will be issues down in the sexual creative energy. I ask people, I think I can hear Susan laughing just in my mind, because I ask people in that chakra, that I say there's a verse in scripture that says, and God, whatever you perceive that to be, breathed the breath of life in Adam, and Adam became a living soul. And then I ask people, now whose breath is in Adam? And they go, God. And I go, yeah, whose breath is in you? Because the divine dwells in you, not out on the cloud.
Right.
So if you can embrace the idea that divinity is in you and you're part of divinity, then you're not going to say, gee, God, you look dumpy today. Gee, God, that's a horrible color on you. Gee, God, did you put on 5 pounds? And that whole premise is to honor, love, nurture, cherish, respect, and accept ourselves, because we're divine beings. We are this spiritual being stuffed in a human body trying to figure out how to be human, but we are divine first. And people either don't know it or have forgotten it. And so this area is, and plus you have to couple it with creativity. So whatever you're doing on a creative bent to keep that area healthy, you must be doing something, and it cannot be your job. It has to be something outside of that to keep that healthy. The next one is your solar plexus, and it's yellow, and it is where your people use the term power, your personal empowerment is. I like to say strength, because power tends to have an interesting energy around that word. But anyway, this is where we hold the center of our personal strength. And so when I see it wobbly in people, then I know that someone's either trying to put them under their thumb or they're trying to control something that they shouldn't be trying to control. In these areas, as far as illness goes, your lower chakra, your sacral chakra, will have anything and everything to do with female issues, endometriosis, fibroids, cysts, cancer, whatever. In the male, obviously prostate issues or whatever. If it goes unchecked for any length of time. In the stomach, in the power center, the personal strength center, you will, if it goes unchecked, you will have ulcers, leaky gut, combine the two, and you'll have Crohn's, irritable bowel, those types of issues that will rise up in your stomach area, food sensitivities, those types of things will manifest. In your heart chakra, big area in your chest, is a beautiful emerald green. And in the center of it, beautiful dusty rose, and the dusty rose represents unconditional. If I were to stand Carla right now in her heart chakra, how I see people's heart chakra is third, everybody. And on this side would be a forest. And I see the health of the forest. If it's beautiful green, healthy trees, is the sun able to get in? If there are broken trees, this is your entire history of relationships, because the heart chakra is where all relationships reside. Anything you can call a relationship, even with a pet, it's here. I see that. I'm just using you as an example. I'm not saying that I see this. I'm just using you. But if I see broken trees, usually I'll see maybe 3, 4, sometimes 5. And that tells me that in your human walk, your human life on earth thus far, you experience some negative energies regarding relationships. They can be romantic, they can be parental, they can be boss, they can be whatever, neighbor, whatever. But that it impacted the way you see and react in relationships. And then this center area is a meadow, and that meadow is the sun shining. Is it a beautiful meadow? Is that dusty rose too big space, too split space? Is it lopsided? That dusty rose represents your back door to your self-esteem. And so then we talk with them about adjusting that. On this side, I see 1 or 2 rows of fence posts to see if they're intact. And those fence posts actually represent boundaries. And so this would, if I see any broken or missing, that means somewhere in your earth walk, boundaries were crossed. Now, some of them could be serious boundaries. It can be incest, it could be rape, but it could also be not being heard, seen, respected, and like maybe really aggressive parents not respecting the boundaries of their children's bedroom. You know, at some point they want their door closed. It could also mean girls going on their dates and the guy might get a little handsy and she's saying no and doesn't want that. So that type of boundary. It can also be boundaries of authority, bosses not respecting you as an employee. So a myriad of types of boundaries cross. So then we break down to what that is. And then I have a process with people where we get rid of those blockages in those issues. So that it no longer has threads attached to you in your walk anymore. You start out fresh. And then in here, if
Uh-oh. Froze. I don't know if you can hear me, Tish, but you're frozen. Oops. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, did you get it? Did I freeze?
Yeah, you froze a little bit there.
I'm sorry. Did you get the blue chakra?
No, it was like right when you were starting, it seemed to froze.
Oh, okay. Well, this is our throat chakra.
Okay.
And this is whether you're able to speak your truth in love. And people forget the in love part.
Mm.
And the speaking your truth in love isn't being a victim, but it isn't being a bully either. And people I find who they're either blasters or they're stuffers. And usually if you're a stuffer, I find TMJ and a lot of teeth issues and a lot of tension in the neck and shoulders because you're hanging on and it's manifesting. You'll get thyroid issues.
Mm.
So it's something to consider with a number of people. And when they walk in my office, I look at them and I can kind of tell. So when I get to that one, I go, and then there are stuffers, and they go like this. Like, oh no, can she see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
And we're not made to stir. So I tell people in this arena, particularly when we're growing up, and if we're growing up with perhaps people in our family who might have been alcoholics or have been mean, hit, whatever. We suppress because it create harm in the family. So we stuff and we stuff and we don't grow and become who we are because we're walking on eggshells our whole life, trying to keep the peace. Over time, that creates issues. So I tell people, so here's a little thing you can do, and I know Sue has heard this, is get a stuffed animal and mentally label it the person you want to talk to. It can be your parent, it can be a partner, whomever, and just label it them. Mentally just label it. Put their name on it to that stuffed animal. But here's the catcher. Remember I said we walk the third dimensional earth plane. Mm-hmm. What rules the third dimensional earth plane is ego. Now, ego isn't bad. Ego gets a bad rap. Ego isn't bad. It's necessary because we chose to come here to learn about the human condition and to see how we can help. Ego displays for us, rationalizes lies, keeps you in fear, feel abandoned. Okay. That's ego's job because we're learning about the human condition. It rationalizes, justifies, lies, keeps you in fear, and feels abandoned. So the minute you have a thought, the instant you have a thought, ego grabs it. And so let's say I want to talk to a dad who's an alcoholic after all these years. I want to get everything off my chest in love. Got to say the in love part. And so ego hears my thought and ego says, oh, whoa, Tish, wait a minute. No, no. What are you thinking? Why would you even want to do that? You're going to create so much havoc in the family. Or you're the youngest born. Who's going to listen to you? Or who do you think you are. And ego takes those and it rationalizes, justifies lies, keeps us in fear and feel abandoned. And then we don't act. We don't do it. But when you voice it out loud, when you make a statement of, I believe my time has come to really address the family issue around my dad's drinking, and you say it out loud, then your higher self hears it and it bypasses ego. And your higher self goes, oh, wow, are you ready now? Wow, Tish, did you hear that? Wow, did you know what you just said? Oh, did you know that you're still feeling that? And what it does is it helps you break down all the emotion and all the trauma and all of it. And you just get to the gems, the facts. That's what your higher self allows you to do. So that when the time comes to speak, you're not derailed and you're not caught up in the emotional trauma anymore. You just have a few facts and you share those few facts in love. Now, here's the other key part. Once you're done sharing, you're done. You will probably feel your shoulders get lighter because it's gone, that burden's gone. But here's the deal. Leave it gone. Don't create an attachment to how they're going to respond to you when you share it. Okay? You have this cord because then you won't share, or then you'll blame yourself, or the outcome will not be what you hope. When you share and you've shared it in love, you're done. What they do with that information, that's all on them. Don't own it. Which is kind of hard when you're, an enabler or codependent or whatever. We have to learn that process. But when you're done, oh my gosh, it's so freeing. So that's a trick to do with the throat chakra. Now we got the third eye. Oh yes, the third eye, indigo, right here. Everyone has a psychic intuitive side. It just depends on how developed it is. Did you know that the pineal gland up there actually in the old days had cones and rods to see? It actually could see. It actually had vision. But over time of mankind's evolution and the hardening of the pineal gland, it's not as activated. But isn't it amazing? It makes me think of the Cyclops, that had the one eye there, but it actually has cones and rods in it for its ability to see, which I thought was fascinating. And like I said, we all have it. It just depends on how developed it is. But given the last 2 decades, more people, that piece of them has awakened. The frequencies have shifted. Arla can attest to this, I know. The frequencies have shifted, and there are more and more people suddenly awakened to, I know this, but I don't know how I know it. I'm being given this information, and I don't know where it fits, but I just have to share it. Because that's where we're at right now. And that's why we're here, is to assist and help and to create these platforms for people to share this information. It's wonderful. But people get locked in. Hollywood does a great job in demonizing things. But not everyone has the same gift, but neither one is greater or less. And so there are some people who think, well, she can do this and this and this, so she must. No, that's not how it works. Whatever gift you're given, you honor it humbly, thank Source for it, and then use it. And we all have different ways of doing it. We all have different expressions. But the more you use it, and the more you trust your connection with Source, it expands into more giftings. It cannot not do that. It's pretty amazing. I was trying to think of people have been having the dreams, they've been having knowings. I get a lot of people who, because I communicate on the angelic realm, I get a fair number of people who come in and say, I want to hear them like you do. And I'm like, well, perhaps you're not meant to do that.
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you mean? Am I just not gifted enough? No, it has nothing to do with that. But it does have to do with intention. So I ask them, what happened to you this week? And they will share with me, oh, I saw these repeated numbers. And I just get really excited when I see these numbers, but I don't know what it means. Okay. Oh, every so often a white feather, I find a white feather, or, whatever it is, but they're all angelic communication. And I tell them, I say, your angels have been communicating with you. They are around you. They love you. They're trying to assist you. But you've locked yourself into wanting it to look right, so to be a certain way, and you limit your receptivity. And then you begin to doubt. And then when you doubt, what happens? Yeah. So it's just being open, So your crown chakra, I see in everybody two sides. And on this side, I see, it's what I call the box. And what that means is that this is the fundamental spiritual belief that you were exposed to as a human on earth. You've rubbed shoulders with it. You might have experienced or been a part of a group. And this is the fundamental box, is what I call it. Now, this box is necessary. Whether you stay in the box or not doesn't matter. This is necessary because as humans, we needed guidance, and we needed some sort of stability and some sort of something that causes us to reach out and go, there's something more than me. And we needed that. But then on the other side, we got this little periscope out here, and this is everything that's not in the box. This is everything that goes, I'm interested in that idea, and you plop it in, and I want to know more about that. And the idea then is to blend the two. You don't choose one over the other, because we're three-dimensional beings. We're body, mind, and spirit. We're not just spirit. We're not just in order to walk the third dimension. And so you find a way to bridge these and marry these and find out how they work together. And they're supposed to sit open like this. If they're wide open like this, you're frying your nervous system. There are people who have gotten too invested in learning more things than they can handle, instead of learning anything. And they're just keep exposing, but not really doing anything with it or learning. Or else it's shut down. And I've met a few people like that, which is really tragic, because they forgot their spiritual side. And so nothing's getting in and nothing's getting out, and they're dying on the vine and they don't even know it. It's tragic. And some go fast and some go very, very slow. And so in this area, you will see, and I mean chronic, I'm not saying everyone that has this is this, but what I am saying is those that I've seen like this have suffered from severe, and I mean these are chronic severe issues of fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, schizophrenia, severe cancers, because no healing is able to get in to take place. So when you get questions in your head that are frequent, then it behooves people to stop and check in with themselves. Where am I feeling that? Where is that thought coming from? It's not coming from here, but where am I feeling it? And then lots of times people feel things in their stomach area. And that's a power control thing, that there's some sort of struggle going on there. In hypnosis, we work with identifying and giving it a color and giving it a shape, so we can set it over here instead of in us. That's a whole nother topic. So, anyway, those are the basic 7 fundamental chakras. They're also supposed to spin. They all are supposed to have good color. If I scan someone's chakra and I saw what was going on, I could tell the person the health of their marital relationship, parent relationship, or whatever, because the health of your chakras determine the health of your relationship. Kind of revealing. But since we're all energy, that's what propels us. That's what flows. That's what's supposed to flow anyway. And so in the third dimension, people get stuck in the third dimension. You and everyone else watching, we're not so stuck in the third dimension, that we understand the higher dimensions, and we understand that there are things out there, and I do a whole diagram about that, but the unconditional love, the unity of the we and us rather than the me and myself and all of that. We put that in our suitcase and we come down because we chose to come and help humanity. And we put that in our suitcase, and now we reach down to humanity where they're stuck, because we're on a platform now, and our platform is our higher self, our spiritual self, our third person observer self, our soul self. Because we understand now we're operating from these higher dimensions. And so we have the opportunity to reach down and lift and give these encouragement and words of wisdom to people from this very platform. You don't have to get stuck in it anymore because we've already experienced it. And we don't have to keep re-experiencing it. We don't have to keep PTSDing ourselves over and over again, because we're now here. And that's freedom. Big time. So, any questions? Any comments?
No, it's actually, everyone's been I think everyone's been listening like me.
Okay.
Me too.
Well,
but
okay.
I'm waiting to hear about the other chakras. So.
I was just getting ready to tell you about that. So, because we've shifted into the higher dimensions, I mean, we're just on the edge of the third. We've been operating in the fourth and some of the fifth for some time. These higher chakras, these are chakras 8 through 15, and they are your soul chakras. And those are the ones that have been calling you back to yourself. And you know it, you can feel it. You know there's more than this. You know that there's a deeper resonance with all of this. And so my colleague and I have a class to teach you about these chakras. And he created this format to show when they're blended. So if you can imagine one side being our 3D chakras, 1 through 7. Okay. And this is how we learn to operate as a human. And then when we float out in the fourth and fifth and sixth and seventh dimensions up here, and we understand this information and we come back, there's a bridge now. There's a bridge where we can now gather up our soul chakras and cross the bridge and bring them back down into our human life, where they work side by side in conjunction. So let me just tell you what each one represents. First and foremost, our 8th chakra. One of the things that we introduce is actually the Earth Star chakra first, because people embrace it and understand it beyond the 7 chakras. And the Earth Stars, I call it, is Sandalphon, the angel Sandalphon, that guards the earth realm and and helps with the connection to the heavens, the cosmos. That's our Earth Star, keeps us grounded. So if you can imagine a rod running up from the core of Mother Earth, running up and then running up through your spine and then running up to the heavens, that's our connection, Mother Earth to the heavens. And then in Sandalphon, loves and protects. Sandalphon and Metatron are 2 angels that are the exception to the rule. And sometime if you want to talk about angels, I'll explain that difference. Anyway, so now we get to the 8th, and she's the soul star, and she's the gatekeeper. And so she kind of creates this beautiful platform of rest and holy, if you want to call it holy or spiritual resonance. And then so she now opens that gate, and now you are in the very next chakra. And the ninth chakra represents joy. Now, what was our ninth chakra? Or what was our root chakra? It was home, safety, security, and finances. But when you bring in your soul piece to that joy, of finding joy in your home and your safe, because you know where your safety and security reside, it relieves you of the burden of thinking it has to be like, look like, sound like, but rather express and experience the enjoyment of being human. Of everything may not be going right, whatever that means, but I trust and I know. I just know it's getting better. So all of a sudden, our soul comes in and infuses that first chakra with joy. I like it. The next one, the 10th one, is harmony. Well, our 10th one is our yin yang. Our 10th one is our male and femaleness. And most people look at that as opposing, fighting forces. And it's not. It's complementary, supporting partnership. So when you bring harmony into that area, you're not going to see those male, female, husband and wife, father, child. You're not going to see that fighting because it isn't necessary. When it's infused with the harmony piece, you understand each other's roles and you uplift each other and you support each other and you find goodness on each. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So then the next one, the 11th chakra, and this is I work with this one a lot. The 11th chakra is our power. This is where our personal empowerment was. But this one is unique in the respect that it brings up any past traumas, any past anything that might have happened to you as a human. And now you have the ability and the strength to wash it, to not have it matter anymore. But it's like a baptism, and it's like being cleansed from it, and it can no longer affect you anymore. I love it. I love it. The 12th one is the unconditional love, because this is in our heart chakra. And it totally, completely transcends what we even think unconditional love is. I don't know if you guys have, but I've had the privilege of being a hypnotist and helping people in hypnosis. And my colleague and I, we work together, we teach these classes together. He's also a hypnotist. And one of the things that we're able to do is transcend the body. So we can go out into nothingness, into isness of all that is. And I'll tell you, once you've gone there, you weep. The love is so overwhelming. It is just, there's nothing, there's no body, there's nothing. It is just pure essence of the divine. And you are so caught up in it, you really don't want to come back. It's a struggle to come back because it's like, I don't want to be there. Just leave me there, okay? But we made an agreement to be here and to help. But that unconditional love piece is beyond our comprehension. It's amazing. The other one, coming up to our throat chakra. This is interesting because we've experienced this already. We get this. We just didn't know how to. I'll be punny and say put it into words. This is vibration. This is all about vibration, and so we no longer need words to express. We feel the vibration. We experience the vibration. We know there's healing vibration taking place. So when our soul chakra brings that in to here, we no longer have to use words. It just, we know it, we get it, we feel it, we sense it, and we share it. By the way, speaking of words, when I read your guys' writings, which I thoroughly enjoy, because we get it and we're like-minded. Did you know that the moment you use a word, you're casting a spell? Words are spell casters. That's why we have spelling. We used to have spelling in school because the moment you use words, the moment you tell a story, the moment you whatever, you are casting a spell. And so we must always be mindful of the spell we want to cast because it's powerful.
Real quick, some people are saying that they're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh no, I don't know how to make me louder. Here, I push the Here, can I get in here? I know my voice goes up and down, and I'm sorry. You know, I've tried my speaker things on the highest. I don't know what to do about it. I could try my earpiece and see if that works any better.
Yeah, maybe we could try that. Just see.
Just see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Can they hear me? Can you hear me now, folks out there in Wonderland?
It sounds about the same, to be honest.
So don't use it then.
It's up to you. Whatever's more convenient for you.
Okay. So now we're at our the 14th one, which is the alignment one, and this is our third eye.
Okay.
And so now we've come full circle. We've come into full alignment with understanding our spirit, our physical being, and now there's no imbalance. There's no nothing, that now we are blended in. So when we bring those soul chakras in and they're working simultaneously with our 3D chakras, that's what it brings in. It brings in integration. It brings in alignment. That's its purpose. Mm-hmm. The highest one, the 15 one, is the monad, and it is the. Okay. I don't know if you're going to get this. I don't know who all is going to embrace it or not. But here's the deal. The deal is that our 3D chakras, even though we know we're body, mind, and spirit, it is still primarily influenced by female energy. Even though we have a yin and a yang, I understand all that. But in the bigger picture, it's influenced by female energy, which is not surprising since female energy is coming back full circle again, because it's supposed to, in an appropriate way. But when you get to the 15th chakra, that is where the male energy, if you want to identify as the male energy or the God energy, takes over, and now is prepared to teach you even more. But the more, and this is where people aren't necessarily ready for, the more is learning and experiencing without your body. This doesn't matter anymore. And it's all this spiritual higher connection piece that soul now. Source kind of looks at it and goes, okay, you've done this and this and this, and now you're ready for this lesson. And this lesson has nothing to do with you being a body, but it has everything to do with being integrated and clarity and understanding. And it helps us know that we're never disconnected, we're never abandoned, we're never any of that, never have been. To know that we are of something greater, and that we can assist in a greater way, and that there's judgments and measure and all that doesn't exist in here. It just doesn't. There's no room for it. It cannot do that. And that's where the low chakras take you. Did that help, Arla? They're pretty amazing. One of the things that I just had a client the other day in a hypnosis session because she was struggling with self-esteem. And so I want everyone to just, if you can hear me, I want you to just sit back for a moment and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to just take in a deep breath and let it go. And I want you to hear yourself breathe out. Let that breath go. And you're going to notice that when you do, your shoulders are going to drop. So take in that deep breath and hear yourself breathe in. And then hear yourself breathe out. And you can feel the relaxation in your body. You didn't know how much tension you were carrying until now. And what I want you to say is whatever words come to your mind at the end of this phrase. I am, and then say whatever you are. And remember, you're using positive statements for yourself because we love each other and we're being nice. So you can say, I am encouraging. I am love. I am. So just take a moment and just start saying those words. I am whatever, whatever, whatever. Okay, now open your eyes. That kind of felt good to just take time to just confirm who we think we am. I am whatever. And that feels good. Now, some of you doubted a little bit. Some of you, it took a little bit for you to even say the word because you're in your way. That's okay. That's human. But now here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and close your eyes again. And take in that deep breath and let it out. And this time, all you're going to say is, I am. And notice how different that feels. I am. I just am. Okay, now I can't see anybody. I can only see Arla and Sam, so I'm going to pick on them. What was the difference that you felt, if any, between the two?
Like physical felt?
Physical, thought, whatever. When you said I am, whatever the words were that you said, compared to the I am, what was the difference?
The first one I felt down here.
Okay.
When I did the second one, the I am, I felt it right here. I felt the twist.
Okay. 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 So when you felt it down in your personal power center, that's logical because what you were doing, can you share one of the words that you used? I am.
The first one was humble, and then it changed to hopeful.
Okay. What's interesting about all of this is we're still using 3D concept. I am hopeful. I am. So we still are operating in comparison and measure because that's what 3D is. Mm-hmm. It's about polarity. It's about the differences. It's about all that. But when you say, I am, there's no beginning, there's no end. You are just now, I am. And the I am is, okay. I don't have to compare it or be compared with anything. I am. And then at some point, the more you settle into the I am, and you feel it and you embody it and you know it and you're okay with it because no one's opinion matters. At some point, you're going to get to the I is. And the I is beyond the body. The I is that part I was talking about, into isness. And so at some point, you're going to transfer and transform and be in the I am to the I is. I just is. But it helps because we live in a world, a society that's constantly comparing, constantly judging constantly, because that's human nature. But when we can extricate ourselves from that practice, you get into the I am and nothing matters. Susan knows in one of our classes, it's the 3D 4D class, we give out a little poster, and that poster says, it doesn't matter because there's no matter. So how much matter do you want to give it and manifest it into being? Yeah, waste of time. It doesn't matter. So, okay, how we doing?
Good. Everyone liked that. It went over really well.
Good.
Yeah, one of the things that I've been working on a lot with myself personally is words, like using my words properly and trying to speak in ways that are more empowering. And like, for instance, you know, for as long as I can remember, I used to always say, like, well, you know, like, I hope you have a good day, or I hope you do this. But that, when I look at that now, it kind of it doesn't seem empowering to me. It seems like you're like you're not a victim, but just like hoping that things are going to go okay. But when you say, like, you know, may you have a blessed day, or may you have a nice day, it's kind of like blessing somebody with that, or empowering.
Yeah. And it's interesting you should say that, because I understand the different frequency energies of words as you do, and that's what you're feeling. But did you know, just for edification, because I had to look it up some time back, because I was feeling the same way. And I looked at the word hope. And what's interesting about that word, what it really means, is it's saying, I believe it to be true. When I hope you have a good day, I am manifesting that and believing that that's what you're going to have. I believe it to be true. But most of us don't know that that means that.
Right.
So it's like, oh, I'm hoping you get that, but there's no connection or ownership in it, because I don't really know if you're going to get that.
Right.
You know, so I understand, unless you tell them what it means. One of the things, and you know, we can get into words, and we can get into prayer, and we can get into mantras, and, you know, well wishes. And it didn't go unnoticed in scripture when thy will be done at the end of a prayer occurred.
Right.
Because that was kind of a catch-all of, well, if it doesn't happen, that must mean God didn't want it. So I'm out of the loop here. I'm not, you know, it's not on me. And I get that. But there's also a part of that, thy will be done, because we don't mess with karma either. And so we don't really know what the full intention for that person to experience is. So we kind of cover our back and say, thy will be done. Because when we pray for others and lift others up, we do need to be mindful of what we're asking and how we're saying it. When I do a Reiki session and they come in for some ailment or whatever, I don't ask. Reiki is its own natural energy. It's God energy, and it knows what to do. But I still stay focused on the body when I'm doing the session. But I don't ask it to be removed. People will come in for perhaps the big C issue. And I don't ask for it to be removed, because I don't know if it's supposed to be removed. I don't know what their journey is as a human on Earth. But what I do ask for is that their immune system be boosted. I do ask for all the surrounding support systems to come into full gear to manage that, to handle that. Okay, so you can kind of see the difference on where we place our focus. because I don't know what their journey is. I don't know what they're supposed to learn. Anyway, I think I got off a little bit. But I understand about the hope. So sometimes I'll say, I trust your day will go well. I'm trusting the day will go. There's something that we do, and this is just a little side note, and you guys can use it. And it's through hypnosis and NLP. And it's something that we call the double bind. And I was just experiencing that last night with some people. And a double bind is where you make it a win-win. So my little girls, when we lived in Bend, and the snow in the winter and the cold, but what jammies do they want to wear? Oh, they want to wear the springtime light, summery little, frilly thing. And I don't want them to wear that. I want them to be warm and, all that stuff. So the double bind is this. I bring down 2-footed onesie jammies in different colors. And I say, oh, look, you get to choose which one you want. As long as they get to choose, it's okay. But I win because they're wearing the jammies I want them to wear. And that's a double bind. That's how it works. A gentleman, when we were at a seminar, and I said, so it was something like, how much more have you learned today than you learned yesterday from the class? And it took him to think, oh, I did learn something yesterday from the class, rather than just ignoring it. So the gal the other day needed to confront the boss about something, and you give the boss the choice. I can do this or I can do this. Which would you prefer? But it's a win-win. And so she got, either choice was going to be okay for her. Those are double binds. And we can do that in blessing as well. That I trust that tomorrow will be even better than today. Well, yeah, today was pretty good. Oh, tomorrow will be better. Okay. I know we didn't mention this, and I'm just going to share it, and some people already know this. And it's the fact of how our brain works and our unconscious. And our unconscious works 24/7 on our behalf. It never rests. Our conscious does, it goes to sleep. But not that unconscious. It's the reason you remember something you were thinking about the night before and couldn't remember it. And then you remember it in the morning because it spent all night going through your file cabinet trying to find the answer to that. It never rests. So I liken it to a Labrador pup. Your unconscious is this Labrador pup, and it only takes instruction that you give it, direct instruction. But it will do that same task over and over and over again until you change it. So here's the thing about the Labrador pup. It does not recognize contractions. Can't, don't, won't. It doesn't know. Can, do, will. It does know. So it's constantly saying to you, yes, you can, yes, you will, you'll do this. It knows what keeps you happy and safe. So let's think about that for a moment. When we as parents tell our children, you can't go into that room, or you can't do this, that's not what they hear, and they're not being disrespectful. The unconscious doesn't recognize the word. It says, yes, you can, and I'll make sure you do because I know that'll make you happy. That's how it works. So as a parent, you can say, okay, babysitter comes, we're going out. Look at all the rooms you get to play in tonight. How wonderful is that? You have all of this. This one's off limits. It's off limits. And there's consequences to this one. But look what you have to play with. Changing how we word it is crucial. I had a woman come in for weight, and she kept looking at her watch. And I asked her, do you have someplace you need to be? And she said, well, I have to get to this baby shower, and I was afraid of the traffic. So I said, go ahead. Don't worry about it. And she says, well, I want to come back. I heard everything you said. I want to come back for the 3 sessions, whatever. I go, okay. And she's walking down the hall, and I hear her say, because she told me, she said, oh, and I made a decision. And I go, well, what's your decision? And she said, my decision is that I'm not going to have any extraneous sugar. And I go, great. What's that mean? She goes, I'm not going to have any dessert. Can't have desserts anymore. No more desserts. Oh, okay. What's the word she used? Can't. What did this hear? Yes, you can. Of course you can. What do you mean you can't? You have up until this time. What do you mean you can't? No. You can. So she comes the next week, and I asked how the baby shower went. And she says, oh my gosh, she ducked her head. And she said, I put the gift here, but when I turned, here's this table full of every delectable thing you could possibly imagine. And I go, yeah, your favorite was there. She goes, it was. And I said, let me guess, you ate it. She goes, I did. And I don't know why I ate it, because I kept saying I can't have it all the way over there. And I said, because you set yourself up, because this doesn't recognize that word. It recognizes can, and it knows it makes you happy, and it knows that's its job. So it would be better next time to look at it and go, I see you, German chocolate cake. Don't duck your head. It saw it before your conscious saw it. It was already salivating. And just say, I see you, and you do look good. Yes, you do. And you know what? I choose not to eat you tonight. Whoa, we're making a choice not to eat tonight? Oh, but it's a command. I'm choosing. We're not doing this tonight. And it follows through. And it says, okay, I guess we're not doing it. Now, if I had said, I can never have you again, forever, I can never eat you, I would have eaten the whole cake, because that is nebulous. That means nothing. So, or I could have said, I choose to only have 2 bites of you. 2 bites? We get 2 bites. I can handle 2 bites. But when you know how it works, it becomes extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. So I just wanted to share that bit because people can relate to that. It's like, oh yeah, I do it. Well, in fact, that lady had lost a certain amount of weight and some inches, and she was happy. Here's the other thing you don't know, or maybe you do. Our brain is hardwired for fight or flight. We know that. But the very next thing that gets triggered when we've done something good is reward. And it's hardwired in there. It cannot not fire. So what we do is we create a new neural pathway to what the reward will look like, because we know the reward's coming. It has to. It cannot fire. That's how it works. So the lady, of course, achieved something. And so here's what she said to herself driving home one day. You know what? I have been so good, and I've managed, and I know how to handle this now, that I am going to just get a little bag of potato chips and reward myself for my good efforts and work. And this little Labrador pup screeched like, whoa, what did you just say? You told me all this time we couldn't have that. And now we can? I'm confused. The minute this gets confused, it goes back to the beginning. It goes back to default. And it makes you start over again, which is why people with addiction issues have a harder time, because when you say something 21 days in a row, if you make an affirmation 21 days in a row and you don't miss, it goes from your short-term memory into long-term, and now you can operate with it. If you go 45 days, 65 days in a row and you don't miss, you've changed your lifestyle, and it now becomes the way you operate. But most addictive centers go 30 days. So they don't quite make that turn for the person. If you make an affirmation, and we use this in hypnosis, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. And you say that every night, 10 days in a row, about 2 weeks into it, or about 5 days, 7 days into it, all of a sudden you get ready to say it, and you're going to go, I do feel better. I don't know why I feel better. I don't know what even better means, but I feel it. Because that's how it works. Because you've told this. Now, we can expand that, and we can expand it to how we feel every morning when we get out of bed. What do we tell ourselves? What's the spell we're casting on ourselves? What are the words we're using to cast that spell? Oh, I don't really feel like going out, getting out of bed today. So what happens next? And I told this to my students, and they're like, how do you know that? That's exactly what I said. Because you can make yourself sick. And the kids would do that. They would tell themselves, I really don't feel, and I got a sore throat and whatever. And the next thing you know, that's what they had until 3 o'clock when school was out, and then they were better. Because this is powerful, and it listens to everything we say. What are we telling it? What are we telling it? Yeah. Be mindful. Be mindful. Once you're mindful and repeat it, then the emotions will follow. The emotions don't have to match it in the beginning, and people think it does, but it doesn't. Those will come in. Just keep going. Make it as if it's so, and it will be. We.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I was actually told several times I have to not stop using it, but I need to not use don't, won't, and can't in my vocabulary as much as I do.
Yeah.
Like, it's been brought to my attention multiple times.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's human nature, and where it's propagated everywhere we turn. Don't cross here. Can't do that. It's right. Constantly. And we understand it, but in our personal lives and whatever, there are more higher frequency ways of getting the point across.
Yeah. It's definitely, like, I think it's more for me in my parenting with my kids. It's more of but like, one of my main things is I don't want them to not saying that I was raised wrong or brought up badly. It's just, I just don't want them to have to endure some of the stuff that, like, I had to endure growing up. And okay. A lot of that, like the restrictiveness and like the not being allowed to do things and things like that, I don't want them to go through that stuff. So like I definitely try and speak in ways to empower them and not hold them back from doing anything. So I think that a lot of the stuff that I'm getting is like my want to do that. And it's like it's like I don't know how to word this. It's like it's like they're trying to help me with my kids, I guess, more than anything.
Yeah, they're giving ideas and assisting. It's an interesting thing, especially as parents, because we want so badly to do it right. We want so badly for them to flourish. We want so badly for them to know we love them. All that stuff. We forget that our kids come in as their own people. Mm-hmm. And then we just provide the environment for them to flourish or not flourish. And some of them will flourish despite the environment. Or because of the environment. I'm just going to say this as a point of fact. I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm not accusing you of doing this. I'm just saying sometimes when we use our own personal past of how we were raised or whatever, we always go for what we don't want. So you mentioned what you don't want for your children. So I would highly recommend throwing that out the window. And I would just say, focus on what you do want.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're in split energy. And when you're in split energy, our brains are designed to go with the negative first. That's how we're made. We think, oh, why do I always go to? Well, because it's wired in there. We have to change that. Why it is what it is. The other thing is parents unconsciously, and I know this because I did it when my kids were younger too, unconsciously parent from guilt. And so let's say parents who divorce, and then they feel so guilty that they put their kids through that then they start to become very lenient, or they want to give their kids everything that they never had growing up. And then what they've done is they've turned over their parental rights to their children, is what happens. Because when you parent out of that, they've got all the power. They've got all the whatevers. And again, you know, I hate saying they've got all the power, because it's not this power, but there is this management that we need to do with humans, and we need to safeguard our little humans. And there is a management style that we need to do for their safety and well-being and growth and all that. But focus on what you do want.
Yeah.
When we keep saying what we don't want, that's what we're manifesting.
Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna say, because like I you know, I went through a lot of crap growing up, and I've been through a lot of hard stuff. I've been, you know, I did like a lot of stuff I shouldn't have done. I learned the hard way most of my life, but like I don't regret any of it. And so I always keep that in my trying to interact with my kids, is like, I know that they need to learn the hard lessons and they need to do these things. So like, I don't have any regrets with the way that I grew up, even though I like, it's funny because you put that on your kids. You're like, oh, I don't want them to do that. But it's like, you have to remind yourself, like, why? Because I did all that stuff and I came out fine, and I'm happy with where I am now. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, we spend so much time on the negative and what we don't want. And even though our intention is meant to show love and safety and protection, we have a higher reason as to why we do it. It's the way we do it. It's the way we express it.
Yeah.
If someone were to ask you, what is it that you want for your children, where would you take that thought process, instead of saying, I don't want my children to have to go through this? Because, you know, I've been a parent a long time, and I tell you, if there was ever probably something in my thought that I did that probably wasn't positive, you know, as far as reinforcing my children, what is it that you want for your children? And I'm going to say this too, you know, all my children are grown and have been grown a long, long, long time. So, you know, I also know that they are their own individual, and their soul came here to learn something. And it may not have been what I thought they should have been learning. But anyway, you know, it's what it is. So what, just in a few words, what is it that you would want for your children to have or understand in this life?
I just want them to be happy. Really. I mean, that's my underlying. I just want them to be happy. I want them to be confident and know that they're supported with whatever they do. It's pretty much it. I mean, I don't have any set goals for them or anything like that. I just want to be supportive and not, I guess, going back to what I don't want to do, I don't want to corral them or herd them in a certain way. I want to try to be as open to whatever they want to do as possible. I guess that's it for now. I'm sure that'll change, but
Oh, it will. But just like what you said, you want them to be happy.
Well,
that's monumental.
Yeah.
Being happy with who they are and their life. And knowing you, I know, you know, that your children are going to get that from you about being happy, regardless of what's going on. So, and that, I know as a parent myself, there were a lot of things that, you know, I didn't want to do or put into my children. and then as I got into it, and especially now, since they're all adults, is just standing back and looking at them and saying, I don't understand your choices, but I honor that those are the choices that you are making in this lifetime, you know, for your soul and for your learning. And that's a hard place to be sometimes as a parent, but I so enjoy watching you and your children and how you deal with them and what you do, and I'm just really enjoying being able to do that.
Yeah.
One of the other things, Sam, is when you can show your children your struggle, not hide it from them. Yeah. You can manage it and put it in words in terms that they can understand, but it's important for them to see how you handle the difficulty, not protect them from it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That they want to see your joy through this as well. How you manage it. What is your confidence in it? Are you looking to the other side saying, it's tough right now, guys, but I know that we're going to get through this. I don't know what through this necessarily looks like, but we're together and we're going to get through this, and we're family and we support each other, and we're going to find new and inventive ways to do stuff, because that's what the world does when we get in a crunch. We find new and inventive ways. So how exciting is that going to be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was part of last year. Definitely was trying to keep them keep them motivated and positive,
Yeah. Well, and the irony of that is all of our natures already are that. It's just remembering that we are a positive, happy person, but that we feel humanity's weight. And so to help them express what they're feeling. There's a lot of kids that are empaths, and they don't know that what they're feeling isn't theirs. It's society's, it's other people. And so to be able to have a dad, a family member, someone to talk to them and explain, this is all yours. You don't have to, because a lot of people are getting diagnosed bipolar, and they're not bipolar. Yeah. They're empathic. So, but I'm not a doctor.
I know. I have this conversation a lot because friends and neighbors who are just like, man, I've just got so much anxiety lately, and I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm like how do you have that conversation with someone, with someone that's totally not on the level when it comes to that type of thing, and, he for instance, a friend of mine he's a professor at a college. And he's like, yeah, I just had so much anxiety and I don't know where it's coming from. And, yada. And I'm like, I have a feeling I know where it's coming from, man, but you're not going to listen to me, So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like, well, where is it not coming from, dude?
Right.
Look around. You're picking up vibes. You're picking up stuff, Mm-hmm. You can put it in that term and they might get it. So,
maybe. Some people.
Yeah.
But it never hurts to bring it up.
I have with him before, and it's just,
But that's that seed planting thing.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't always know what's going to happen down the road. You got to get that seed planted in there, and then just
he'll either take her or it won't. It won't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, this past year was tough for my youngest son. My oldest son, he just breezed through it, man. He's just got on Xbox. Him and his friends, he'd have like 10 friends. They'd be playing video games and just laughing, and it was like they were hanging out, My youngest son, it hit him a little harder, and he's got a huge.
He's sensitive. He's sensitive.
Very much.
Big time.
We had lots of cry sessions. He had cried out a lot. Yeah.
Well, And he not only feels everyone's, the generalized energy of humanity, but he also feels mom and dad's energy more acutely without you saying anything. And he knows everyone's buttons to push. He knows what's being bogged, but he can't articulate it. So he internalizes it.
Yeah, he's always been that way. Like he knows when you talk with him, you have to be very cautious in the words you use, because he's already feeling your energy.
Right.
And so if you like talk, if you're kind of frustrated or something, and you talk to him in a tone that's like, or use words, you know, he's like right on the edge of already being upset. So you have to be like, it's okay, I just want to tell you. Because my other son, he's just like, all right, well, whatever, you know.
Exactly. There's always because he runs it through his own personal filter, and his own personal filter, no matter how many times you go blue in the face telling him you love him and that he's an amazing young being, it's not what he's hearing. So he's constantly measuring himself, constantly. If you were disappointed in him, he would crush. He would be crushed.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't want to do that, because he feels it so deeply. It's challenging for that type of child. And he knows he's different. He knows he's different from his brother. And he's not sure with that difference. Because remember, we live in a society, whether we want to or not, that has measure and comparison. It cannot not do that.
Yeah.
And he's already measured and compared himself, and he knows he's different, and he's just not real sure where he fits.
Yeah.
Plus it's hard.
No, I mean, he's good. Like he's never been one to get in trouble. I'll say that about him. He knows where he sits. My oldest son that's a different story. Like he'll
challenge you.
Oh yeah, he's a lot like
got
me.
that polarity in here. A lot of families have that.
He's not like mischievous. What's that?
I said it's a rich blessing to be given a plethora of both sides.
Yeah, he's not like a bad kid at all. He's just a little. He's just got that, like, he's a lot like me. He's got that like mischievous little bit, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you hypnotize people, or when you do the hypnosis thing, and do you get into their past experiences with like star people and Sasquatch and entities? Is that like is that strictly through hypnosis, or is there like another way that you can access that type of stuff?
Well, people have, I think, an interesting concept of hypnosis. There's trance, and then there's hypnosis. And so bringing people into trance, I did that when I had you guys take your breath. Mm-hmm. You know, and you get into that. You trance yourself out when you're watching a movie or on the computer screen or driving, and you forget where you're at. We're very susceptible to going into trance. And once you're in trance, then the hypnosis piece is adding to or discovering what you do want, and helping to create a new neural pathway to achieve that. So the hypnosis part is actually the instruction that your unconscious is going to receive, the suggestions. People can actually access all kinds of information just in a trance state. They don't have to go deep. They can take the 3 breaths, a meditative state, and you can access all kinds of information that way, depending on your intention and the surrounding that you set for the highest and best. Notice people when they tell the story. they're in trance. They're reliving, they're back in that moment by moment. They've tranced themselves out, if you want to say. So there are ways to gain information without necessarily having the hypno piece of it, where hypnosis blends both of them for a more full, achievable outcome. There's usually an outcome involved in that. Now I can do past life regression, and I try not to talk to the client about what they think their past lives are, because I don't want to influence. You know, there are people that'll go up to someone and go, "Oh, I know that you were in the Civil War at one time." Well, now that's embedded in them. So if I do past life on them, you know what I mean? So I'm very, very careful, and I do past life regression with people. I do regression with people, not past life, but getting them into their child state and visiting if they had a trauma in their life as a child, getting them to that state, and then pre-state, getting them before the trauma happens. And then at that moment, you can give them resources and equip them so that when they come back into revisiting that, they now have the resources to handle it differently. So it doesn't affect them as we come back through their current lifetime. Lots of times when you guys gather around the campfire and you're looking at the smoke, you're in trance.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because where do we go? And so things can be revealed, and you can learn more, and then all of a sudden people will start, you know, either revisiting the situation or more information will come in. So no, you don't have to be in a full hypnotic situation to receive the benefits or information. NLP, word use and visualization. It's called neuro-linguistic programming. And no, there are some people that will deliberately try to do that. But in general, if you come in with a sincere heart and really want answers, then usually what comes to the surface, because our brain can't tell the difference between imagined and fact, doesn't know the difference. And I know that when people tell me things through a trance state, it's real to them in whatever manner they experienced it. And so I don't negate it or belittle it or question it or whatever. But we do talk about it afterwards.
Cool. Sorry, I had a glitch. My whole computer screen went down in the middle of that. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to that, because I thought my whole Zoom feed went out and I was like, crap.
We saw you leave. We thought, you know, I was worried I said something that offended you.
No,
I didn't use my words wisely.
I was like listening to you, and then all of a sudden, like, my whole screen went, and it was just my wallpaper or whatever, and I was like, crap, like the whole show.
All good.
I'm glad it didn't. So
yeah. Does anybody out there have any questions?
Yeah, I'm gonna go through those.
Not that I can answer them, but just wondered.
There's a lot of, there's people conversing amongst each other. Everyone's pretty
good.
Pretty stoked on it though. It's going over well. So
Good.
So the the soul chakras and your human chakras, so they come into alignment with each other? Is that how they work?
Mhm, mhm. Or they can. What we do is a technique where we bring them in because you're being called to reunite with them. But we've been human for so long in 3D that we forget that we're spirit.
Right.
And but it keeps knocking at us, knocking at us, knocking at us. And then finally, when we're ready, we're like, whoa, wait, I'm more than this. I'm this too. So let's bring it in. And so we do this process of allowing those chakras now to come in your human experience, to work together, to enhance your humanness. To obviously the end goal always is to assist mankind. But yeah, they come in and harmoniously work. But that's also where suddenly you make, or not suddenly, but subtly, you make that shift of the I am strong, I am this, to the I am, because nothing else matters. And again, there's so much freedom in that. And so there's so many answers in just that. Answers without thought. There's just this knowing, there's just this settling in and acceptance of the wholeness of it all, the wholeness of you. That's all I can say. I just can't. I don't know how else to express it. It's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read up more on those, on the like your soul chakras, because it makes sense, and there's a lot of things that have happened with me over the past few years that align with that. I just don't know enough about them, but I'm definitely going to be looking more into that, because
Yeah.
you come take one of your classes.
Yeah. Well, and you're being called. I mean, it's your next evolutionary step. So you cannot not do it. And it doesn't matter if you understand it necessarily, but receiving of it because you trust it. And we can talk more about that. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be good.
I always want to learn. I guess it's that like intellectual side of me. Now I have to try and keep it in check, because if I don't, I'll be the person that will like read book after book after book.
Right.
And barely take any of it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotta let it marinate. You gotta, people come in and they want, because we teach a class on how to develop your intuitive psychic, whatever. And they want to know everything all at once. And so what I do is I say your angels will guide you to one or two topics. And you're going to slow it down, and you're going to invest yourself into the one or two topics, maybe three, and get to know it and be familiar with it to where you know it so well that it becomes part of your breath. And then they'll shift you to the next one. Yeah, because that's how it works.
Yeah. Oh man. So when you feel the energy coming in or out, like right here on the top of your head,
mm-hmm.
what is that exactly? Is that do you think is that streaming in or out, or is it both?
I would say it's a little bit of both, because you've got this, like in a tree. The tree has the phloem and the whatever the other side is, where it comes in and goes back out.
Right.
And comes in, it has that flow thing.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we're the flow.
Mm-hmm.
If I get a download, then it's coming in. But it's
right.
also, it's almost like doing that dance where it comes in and then it kind of goes into giving the information to each of my chakras unconsciously. I'm not always conscious of this, but it's touching base with everything before it goes back out. Okay. To making sure that it's coming in and it's going to be integrated and at some point utilized. So it kind of clears a path for it. And it says, oh, here's what you're going to learn. Root chakra, and oh, get ready for this next chakra, and oh, you're going to learn this and this and this. But just wait, don't get anxious. It's going to happen. And then it kind of leaves, and then you work with it or whatever. And then the next thing you know, another aspect of it comes in, and then it leaves. When I wrote some curriculum, well, that the 3D 4D chakra was through, a lot of that was through downloads of connecting to higher sources.
Yeah, because when I had my my main awakening experience in 2012, where basically I had a Kundalini awakening, or what it felt like to me, or what.
Right.
And so for about a month or two after that, every day it felt like I had a string on my head, and it was like, or an antenna had come out of my head, and it was like every day for like a month or two I could feel it. It just felt like someone had a finger right here. And I didn't know anything about chakras or Kundalini or any of this stuff back then, and I was just like trying to convince myself and my wife that I wasn't going crazy,
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, the Kundalini experience is an amazing experience, a very freeing experience, and the beauty about that experience is it's the marriage, it's the connection of the feminine and masculine joint. When I do the third and fourth chakra, and I talked about the Earth Star chakra, and then the eighth chakra, the Soul Star, I see them as male and female. And I see this beautiful love dance, this cosmic love dance that happens with them reaching down to each other and doing this dance. And we're the embryo in the center of it. And we are being surrounded by this magnificent love and this love story. And we are so protected, and we're so cherished. It's just an amazing, amazing experience. And we feel it with our children and maybe a loved one. But, make that a million times more. And it's this beautiful, we were designed to be here. We were purposefully meant to be here and also taken care of, even though we go through these hardships and stuff. Because we chose to learn about the human condition. We chose to learn. And so we came in, and we came in at a certain time span of humanity and what humanity was going through in this lifetime. Now, we may have come in at an earlier time in humanity, but right now in this lifetime, we came to assist into the next jump, the next frequency, dimension. But knowing that we chose that before we became human, we're with Source making this agreement, we knew what humanity was going to be going through. So we chose to have Earth experiences that would help explain and for us to understand. It would be, did you see that movie? It was the, what's his face? The car. Clint Eastwood's That Car movie. And the Vietnamese live next door.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's elderly, he's an older guy now. And the 30-year-old kid shows up on his doorstep knocking with the collar on from church. And the 30-year-old kid is trying to guilt him using emotional blackmail about, well, your wife always came and she never missed it, And of course, Clint Eastwood doesn't handle that very well. But the point is that how can a 30-year-old be in a pulpit of a farming community people where the average age is 60 and tell them how to live their life? Doesn't go anywhere. Right. So we chose to come in and have experiences that we knew, as painful as some of them were, to have them to understand the human condition so we can assist, because people resonate when they know when they know you get it, when they know you've been there. And so it's really kind of hard to be mad. We chose our parents. We chose for the lessons that needed to be learned.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to be mad at anybody when we chose it.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
anyway.
100% agree with that. And that's one of the biggest changes in my life is understanding that, and looking back on everything that's happened and how everything's happening now has made the biggest difference in how I perceive everything now. Whoops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
and
also that's the
not by
difference between
accident.
like that's the difference between like being a victim and being a creator. That to me was the bridge that I stepped out of being a victim and into being a creator. Right.
And we all learn that as a human condition at some point, being a victim, because that's part of that process. But it's the idea of being processed, not being stuck in it. And we don't have to camp there anymore. We've already experienced it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have seen the movie The Labyrinth or Labyrinth?
Oh, with David Bowie?
Yeah. I
recommend that to my clients. Yeah.
Yeah. That movie was my sister's favorite movie when I was growing up. And, you know, I watched it a couple of times, and it's, you know, for like the amusement factor, it was good as a kid, you know, but like,
Sure.
you know, I was a boy. I was like, oh, it's okay, you know. But now I saw it so much from my sister watching it that there was things that stuck in my head. And I keep going back to these scenes from that movie. And I'm like, that movie is so deep. But like on the surface, it's like, you know, just like a Jim Henson movie. But there's like so much in that movie that I'm like, holy crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. A young Jennifer Connelly. It was amazing. That's when I fell in love with David Bowie, actually. Seeing him in this role, and Tina Turner hairdo. But there were some really dynamic, significant messages. One of them being, well, number one, she's always saying, that's not fair, that's not fair, that's not fair.
All right.
The other is, if you remember in the beginning of the movie, she is trying to memorize a portion in the Shakespearean play or whatever, and she always forgets the phrase, And that's kind of like us. And so David, when he comes in as the Goblin King, and she's like in shock, you know, and he makes this bargain with her that she has to get Toby by the 13th hour. He comes in later, and it was most powerful and significant when he looks at her and he says, and you will remember this, Sam, I'm exhausted living up to your expectations. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at people, and it's going completely over their heads.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what he just said? She had an expectation of how powerful he was, of all the things he could do, and she manifested. She made sure. So in order for him to live up to her expectation, he had to keep going through the hoops to make sure, being one step ahead of her, so he looked like he was this all-powerful, all everything. And he was exhausted doing it.
Yeah.
It's when you watch it and you get to that point, it is very poignant. And then the other thing was, what did she say, if you can remember? What was the words she used to break the spell? Because it was the words she kept forgetting in the play.
Yeah. You have no power over me.
You have no power over me.
Yeah.
And it's only if we give it. People don't. So when did you surrender it? Where did you give it? Yeah. And it broke the spell. But I'm glad that kids love it. And I saw it the first time when my kids were little too. And I'm like, really? But when I was a little more adult and they were older and it came across again, I was folding laundry and I heard that phrase, and I came in and sat down and watched it with them. And so I shared it in my classroom, that I played that movie in my classroom and shared it with the students. So, yeah, no, very powerful, very powerful. Really, and David Bowie did a great job dancing with the puppets.
Yeah, it's an entertaining movie. So yeah, for homework, everyone, your homework.
That's right.
Watch the movie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to step out. So I got some daddy duty stuff to do.
Yep.
So
Okay.
thank you so much for coming on.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you for asking. I really enjoyed it. And to everyone out there, though I can't see you, if you have a text,
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to Tish, and hopefully all your classes and stuff will get back up and running soon.
yeah, we'll make contact. So, yeah. Arla, thank you so much. Miss Oklahoma.
And thank you, Tish, for being on. It was good. I was relatively quiet, but I was listening. So
Okay. Well, good. I'm glad. I hope that there was something beneficial for everybody. So,
thank you.
Definitely.
thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.